If you're an agent who does open houses and you're not reaching out to these people at least for a couple months, you're kind of wasting your time doing open houses.
For those that are just like, okay, I want to network, what does that mean to you?
I didn't go in every event with the mindset of, oh, I'm going to walk out with a client. No, it was like, get out of the house, meet people. I could always learn something from anyone.
How many transactions you did year 1 and year 2?
21 transactions. 2024, I've had 27. People say it takes 3 years for you to finally get clients coming to you. But if you don't have that mentality of going and chase the new and foster what you have, it's not going to take that long. I'm Tori Borges from Pensacola, Florida. I'm mostly a listing agent. I do work with buyers sometimes, mostly military buyers or first-time home buyers, just because I enjoy it. You know, it's fun teaching people who don't know much about real estate and just guiding them through the process. So I work both, but I love the marketing of listings. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. And you have been crushing it since you joined us. What area specifically in the Pensacola area do you work?
So I'm pretty close to downtown Pensacola myself. So I like to stay as close to what I'm familiar with, right? And of course, that's your neighborhood. So I would say like East Hill, Scenic area, Ferry Pass, like these are all small neighborhoods within Pensacola. So if an address is in Pensacola, I work it. Perdido Key is a little bit more west. I do work that area. That's not that far away. Navarre, Gulf Breeze, I work too. That's like within an hour. But beyond that, like you mentioned, Destin is a little bit farther than I like to go just because I'm not as familiar. But Milton is another big area because there's a military base up there. But if any like questions about the areas that I work, or if you're just wanting to become more familiar for like maybe a referral that you're working with and you're trying to help them a little bit in the beginning, feel free to reach out. Happy to show you like the different parts of Pensacola because it's actually a lot bigger than people think. And there's a lot of little pockets around here.
I think that's like the telltale sign of a good, like seasoned, experienced agent is the one that's like, I don't work that area or I don't work this area, instead of the agent that's like, oh, I'll take anyone. If you've even thought about real estate, like I can be your agent without even knowing if they're a buyer, seller, or anything like that. So you've been an agent. Tell us how long you've been an agent for, how many transactions you did year 1 and year 2.
So April of 2023 is when I like officially joined EXP, maybe like a week or two before, but that's when like the capping started, the capping month, I should say. So about a year and a half, coming up on 2 years here in April. And so in 2020, I guess, 3, I had 21 transactions. And then 2024, I've had 27. So it's off to a good start.
That's amazing. Okay, 21 transactions year 1, and you're not even done with year 2 yet. You're year 2, and you're already at 27 transactions. You're probably going to close it off with like, what, 30? How many are you predicted to close by April?
It's probably like at least 6 or 7. Mm-hmm.
More. Yeah. Damn. So 34 transactions year 2 is what you're thinking now. That's crazy. And you didn't transfer brokerages. You were a brand new agent in a brand new city where you're not from, you don't have family, and you didn't have this huge or any sphere. Any sphere. I want to start from the beginning. How did you get to where you are now?
In the beginning, I got out of the house as much as possible and I didn't say no to much. So like I had agents who would ask me, that I became friends with, asked me to help them out like with a rental or here or there. And I did it. I didn't want to. I knew it wasn't the best use of my time. But if I had like a little bit of a slow week or something, I would take it on just to learn anything that I could, even if it was just practicing opening up doors, using showing time. I took any opportunity possible in the beginning. I networked a lot. So I knew that I didn't want to work with investor clients forever, but those are the easiest people I would say to network with, especially in the beginning. And these people are selling and buying consistently. So I was just looking for repetition, getting to know people, giving myself an excuse to get out there, market myself. So yeah, just any opportunity that there was in the beginning, I took it, whether I wanted to or not.
That is what a lot of people don't want to do. They don't want to put in the hard work. They're like, well, I don't want to work rentals because they don't pay, or, they don't pay now. But you did that, and you had you were a prior military officer, and I know what that's like, and I know what the income is. And to go from that to working rentals and, opening doors, just to get practice, it's a lot of work. Yeah. You're so friendly and you're so easy to talk to. So networking comes easy for you, I think. For those that are just like, okay, I want to network. What does that mean to you?
So I would say, I'm definitely an introvert. One-on-one, I'm fine with people. But going into a crowd, a big group of people, especially investors, when I'm not a flipper, I haven't done flips before. I've rehabbed and held properties. But I really, I just tried to ask a lot of questions and learn and just make friends too. I didn't go in every event with the mindset of, oh, I'm going to walk out with a client. No, it was meet people in the community. Maybe you'll meet a friend, because I also came here not knowing anyone, so I had no friends. So I was let me just get out of the house, meet people. I could always learn something from anyone. So that was really my mindset walking into these networking events, was to get myself out there, meet people, and something will come of it. And it's funny because even a year later, from some of the events and things that I went to, in the first couple months of me being an agent, things have come to fruition from that, which is pretty funny. But it takes time. I mean, it's not an instant result whatsoever. I don't think I ever met a client there was oh, list my house next week. There was one that I really connected with, but that took work too. I took her out to dinner, we had drinks a couple times. I had to prove myself to her over time, but it all started by just making myself go to the events. And the more you do it, the more people you're going to meet, the more likely you're going to find a client or two or a couple friends that are going to have other friends who are selling. So you just got to keep doing it.
That's exactly what it is too. It's even if the people you're networking with, they're not ready to buy or sell, or they already have their go-to agent, their sphere likely don't. So yeah, that's always, I think, how it's turned out for me. It's not really the people on my Instagram following me, but they share it with someone else. It's their sphere. So that's awesome. With 21 closings in your first year as a brand new agent, I want to talk about organization. What tips did you use, or strategies? How did you organize yourself? Because I feel that's when people go from, in our background, military background, as far as level of organization that I needed in the military, it was nada, I didn't need to be organized. But when you're a business owner, it's you need the organization, you need the follow-up, you need your own accountability. How did you start getting these clients, and what's your system?
So I will say that was really hard for me. And I still struggle with that, finding a great system that works well for me. I've talked to a lot of other successful agents and tried to implement their systems. And sometimes some things have helped and sometimes it hasn't, but how your brain organizes things is going to be so much different from your friend or your mentor. So it's taken some time to get to a place where I feel organized. But I started out really with my business expenses. Everything is on an Excel spreadsheet. And I have a folder of receipts, just a random paper folder, and I put every receipt in there. And I would say every couple of weeks, I go into my Excel sheet and put it on there. If I pay for photos and I'm on the computer, I put it in there right away. And that's an Excel sheet that I do on my Google Drive, so I can access it other places. I could share it with my other email. And then, if I do end up getting an assistant down the road, they could have access to all this. So I do try to keep everything on a Google Drive that could be accessed by someone else. So down the road, I can hand it off and no longer be a one-man show. But yeah, the Excel spreadsheet for organizing the expenses is what I use. And then for clients, I have a whiteboard in my office. I tried doing like Google Documents and shared things on my phone. It's just not something that works for me. I know it makes the most sense because as an agent, you're on the road a lot, you're in houses. Like I would love for my notes and notebook, like, to always just be in front of me, and it's not, but I do keep a notebook with me in the car. I try to bring it with me everywhere I go. So everything's in one central spot, and then I can put the major things on my whiteboard. So it's still a work in progress, but that's the only thing that I've found that has really helped me. But when I do intakes or finish up an appointment where I just got like a ton of data, I do put that on a Google document. So for every year, I have a buyer's document and a listing document. So when I do a buyer's consultation, I have my checklist of what to go over. So like, when are they looking to buy? Have they bought before? Parameters, that sort of thing. I jot all that down under their name in that document for the year. And I do the same thing after a listing appointment. I put all the details we talked about, repairs needing to get done. So I do all of those on my Google Documents. I also send a follow-up email every time, like after a major event. So after a buyer's consultation or after a listing appointment. And this obviously helps your client summarize like what you discussed and put everything in writing. But I refer back to this all the time. Like it's really for me. So I would recommend doing that for yourself. It'll also make you look super organized, and they'll appreciate it because they're not going to remember half the stuff you said either. So just put it all in writing somewhere, someplace. Like I have a pretty good memory, but as you get more and more, it's like it's impossible to remember things, and properties will blur. And a lot of times you'll have a listing appointment and not list a house for 3 months. So you got to put it down in writing somewhere, whether it's in a notebook organized. But Google Docs works best for me.
I love the Google Suite. I use the Google Sheets all the time. That's where I keep like my running transactions year over year. So like every month I'll download it from Exp. Like my most recent transactions, I'll add it to my Google Excel just to keep like the running total of GCI and stuff like that. And referrals, like so I added another column that says source. Like where did I get that from? Who do I need to love on even more? And it's always Brit. It's always Brit in her military sphere. So that's how you organize. How do you keep yourself on track with follow up? Like how do you, like with the reminders as you get more and more clients, 34 on track to close 34 your second year? What's your follow up system like?
So I do a follow up boss. And that was recent, I would say, like within the last 3 months. So I'm still working on getting everything up and running to have like a really good follow-up plan and email campaign. Like my goal is to have weekly emails and a quarterly email, like depending on the client. And in terms of personal touches, I want to do quarterly too. So all that is mostly in my CRM. But a lot of times, like if I have some downtime, like if I've been working all day and I'm sitting on the couch, I'll go through my head and be like, okay, who haven't I talked to in a while? I'll just text them because most of my clients are like past clients or referrals. Like my business is run off relationships and rapport. And so I just send like an email, a text message, very personal, random, thinking of you. Like, or if I see like a house that is similar to theirs or something interesting or funny that like we've talked about before, like I'll just send it to them. So it's not always planned and structured, but I'm getting to a place where it will be. And then I will continue to do my kind of like spontaneous check-ins, but a more systematic way of doing it is going to be through my CRM.
Nice. So you do a mixture of emails, like a little bit more mass emails, and for text it's more personalized.
Because I've been having a hard time setting up like the mass text thing because I have my number and I have my CRM number, and to be honest, I haven't found like a great system to have both. Like it's just been kind of confusing, and it's like messed up some clients before where they're like, I don't know like how to reach you, like I'm seeing this number, and then not very easy to mass text from your CRM. So you have to use a different platform. So that's why I just have been doing it for my own and making them more personal. And the mass email will be from my CRM. That's a little bit easier to do. And I just find that as like a small touch just to kind of stay top of mind. But I don't think that's like a really solid touch. Like I think the texts are so much more important. I also don't have a ton of emails. So that's a big reason why I don't really rely on that right now too much either. It's because I just really need to build that up. Like I have my past clients, which, it's great, probably about like 50 and then maybe an extra like 20 who have never ended up buying or, we're kind of warm, cold, switching on and off. So I just don't have that many emails.
I didn't realize that you switched to Follow Up Boss. Like what led you to switch to Follow Up Boss and why did you, so do you use KB Core? Because both of us EXP have KB Core. So you don't use KB Core at all?
I never did. I tried and I could not figure it out. And I know that there were a lot of videos out there that I could have spent the time. But, in the beginning, like I said, I was working like a dog and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do the work, the rest will come. And did that make that for like a pretty challenging like end of the year and catch up to get organized? Certainly. But I also like experience is so much more important, I think. So I kind of chose to go that route and didn't have a CRM for 13 months of being a realtor, but made it work.
And yeah, you made it work. Okay, cool. So with with Follow Up Boss, is it, are there like already campaigns, like email campaigns that you just like toggle on, or do you have to create your own?
So they do have templates. There's a lot of templates out there. Yeah. And they could help you set that all up too. And there are companies that you could hire that will kind of tailor them a little bit closer to like your style and what you're looking for. But yeah, you could set up like all those campaigns, and MailChimp is really great. It's like, I think $14 a month, and their templates are super helpful and just make it really easy. You could also just use Canva, which I know EXP now gives that pro account for free, which makes it a bit easier to get like any logo or template that you want. So there's free options out there too. I just think using the Canva one and then getting into your CRM might be like a couple more steps, but it'll save you $14 a month.
Huh. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm also just now getting into email. I'm like, okay, I think the importance of having an email list, in case my Instagram ever gets shut down, in case for some reason YouTube goes away, just having a list of emails. And now, since you mentioned Canva, I have never been one to be creative and like artsy. Creative, yes. Like in the artsy sense though, no. And Shelby has always been on me like, well, Canva's like very easy, Allie. Like you can use Canva. And I've always been like, no, I don't even want to learn how to do Canva. That's not me. And then after EXP made a free account for everyone for Canva Pro, I like was messing around on it, and I made that like a post that went viral and got almost 1 million views. And I'm like, had I done this earlier? I'm like kicking myself. Oh man. But yeah. Okay. So I didn't even realize that you could email from Canva.
Well, you could get like the template, so you could make, the nice, whatever, like images and that sort of thing, and have your signature on there, and then just download that into your CRM. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Got it. Dang. There's so many things that you could do. Okay. I want to go into when you said weekly emails or like the quarterly personal touches. What are you thinking about sending out?
So, for the quarterly stuff, I was thinking like one probably around like the holidays, like Happy New Year, enjoy like the holiday season with your family and that sort of thing. And then other months, I was thinking more of like a maintenance plan. So like spring, you're doing spring cleaning, like you should probably clean out your gutters. Now is a good time to plant grass seed and that sort of thing. So I haven't finalized all that yet. But like the weeklies, I was thinking probably just like a deal of the week. If I have a special home that I want to market, a local business highlight, and maybe try to get in with that business so that we could collaborate on Instagram and I could do a post about it. And then maybe they could give like a coupon that I could send in that email campaign as well. So I'm not really sure like which I'll end up doing weekly and which ones will be more quarterly, because that is a work in progress. But I do want to do something because I'm getting to that point, and I'm sure you too, or you probably hit this point like a year ago, but you're doing all this work to meet these people, and a simple touch every once in a while, just so that you're top of mind, can mean so much. Because I'm kind of getting to the point where I feel like I've been doing a lot of work, meeting a lot of people, and don't really get the opportunity to talk to them again. And I don't want to waste my time. Like I'm looking back and saying like, oh, dang, I did all this and didn't talk to them again. So I have to start setting up an email campaign. And that simply goes to like, if you're an agent who does open houses and you're not reaching out to these people at least like every couple months, like you're kind of wasting your time doing open houses. I think like, will you get some clients from it? Yeah. But you could be getting so much more, I think, if you have a solid campaign and you reach out to these people down the road.
100%. I think like when I first got licensed, I became a business owner. I just started, and I think a lot of agents do this. They just get so focused on getting new business, talking to more new people, instead of talking to the people that you've already spent some time on, because that is a significantly higher conversion than always starting new. Like, for example, you already have 50 closes in the bank. Those are way easier, way faster be a repeat client as opposed to you starting a brand new relationship with a stranger and winning them over.
And I would say, I mean, probably 10% of those are repeat clients or referrals. So, and that's like, you know, that people say it takes 3 years for you to finally get like clients coming to you. But if you don't have that mentality of going and chase the new and foster what you have, it's not going to take that long. Like I found it, and probably like the 18-month point, I was like, oh, okay, like it's finally all coming together. Like, reaching out to people to follow up. And when you want to go back to like how I got some of these, like I have a little story for you, so tell me when the right time to do that would be. But it kind of talks.
Oh, please, let's do it now.
So this is funny. Like a lot of my business all started with one conversation. So I'll go through it. My last year, I didn't have like my very own listing before. I kind of joined or became active as an agent with one because like a friend that I went to college with, whatever, was moving. But, I didn't feel like it was mine. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I co-listed, whatever. So my very first one, like when I was independent agent doing my own thing, there was a FSBO that I called up, and it was just down the street from me. It was a really cute house, and I was going to offer to do an open house for them. And I wanted to come just see the house because it was really cute. I was going to take some video and just post it on Instagram. And so I talked to this guy for like an hour, just build rapport. And yeah, he was just really sweet. And I was going to do an open house that following weekend. They ended up not wanting to do the open house because I got an offer. Totally fine. Like I stayed in touch, told him if he needed any help, with the paperwork or had any questions, like that I was happy to do so, like free of charge. But I really tried to not talk about being an agent too much. Like I mentioned it so that he wasn't like freaked out when he found out, because I don't want anyone to feel surprised about that. But I did not go in there with necessarily the goal of taking the listing. So that house sold, but he called me like a month later and asked to grab lunch and talk about another house he had. So we got lunch. I ended up listing that house. So that was my first listing ever, right? And so that house went under contract in like a month. But from that house, I got 2 listings from someone who was trying to sell that house on the street. Their agent couldn't sell it, so they called me, listed that house, listed his other house. That first property had a buyer come in who I stayed in touch with for probably 9 months. He wasn't interested in that house, but he was still looking. So I kept up a search for him. Every time a house house hit the market, I would text him. He ended up buying a house on his own, but called me like 9 months later and asked me to list his house. So I found the buyer for that listing too, then sold 2 of his neighbors' houses, and I'm now selling his other house. So from that one FSBO I talked to, I got 6 listings and 1 buyer. And there's probably going to be more. So that just goes to show, like, be nice to people. Everyone is important. You should try to follow up with every single person and treat your people properly. Like, there were how many recommendations? I think 3 that went in there. And it's because I treat people well, you know? Like, I even made a mistake on the listing. Like, we had a misunderstanding about the refrigerator, that they wanted to take it with them, and I missed it, and I had to pay $750 for the freaking refrigerator. But, you know, I'm so happy I did it, because I got listings from it, and I mean, it was also just the right thing to do. Like, it was my mistake. They should have caught it too, because it was very clearly in the contract that it was supposed to go, but whatever, you know? And yeah, I mean, I'm very generous to my clients too. Like, I think they know that they could trust me, and I give them like nice presents and stuff. And I don't go over the top, you know, but like, they know I care. And I think that just goes such a long way.
That is what makes you stand out. You know, that's the reason you've had over 50 and you've been an agent for a year and a half. And like, it's the ability to see the long-term relationship as opposed to the check in 3 months. And so many agents don't see past that, you know, like they're just like, well, what can I do to make the closing? And then they burn a lot of relationships. And over time, the reputation will catch up to you. What's your communication style with the clients? And what is your list, being that a lot of these came from one relationship that you spent an hour with that he initiated. He was like, hey, like, let me call you because you weren't pushy onto me. By the way, I had another house. Can you list it? So, and you didn't even expect that was coming. After that, how did the conversation go with the referrals specifically? Like this one client that took you out to lunch, whatever. What is that relationship like with the new people that he referred you to?
So they'll typically call me. I try to meet with them as quickly as possible. So if like next day I could set up a listing appointment, I do, because it doesn't give them time to, like, I don't know, not that I want to discourage people from doing research, but you know, I just want to get the ball rolling. If they're calling me, they're ready. Let's get it done. And most people...
Oh, can I pause you right there? I want to dive even further into that. Like with the actual handoff, because I mainly do a lot of outbound referrals. And you're great with this, which is why I give you all my referrals. But like so many agents drop the ball, you know, like I will start the group chat and I want to know like what your process is, or like what your thinking is, and how exactly, like what do you say? When do you say it? Because I'll start group chats with other agents and they're like, hey, like whenever you want, just book a call, and the client never responds, and then it just fizzles out. Right when they were hot, you know, they were hot when I started the group chat, and then it just fizzles out, and they're like, oh, well, the client never reached out to me. What specifically did you do? Like, was it at a group chat, or was it like just let me pass you his number? At what point did you text that person? Can we get deeper into that?
So mostly how I see it, just like, you know, from non-agents referring their friends, they'll give their friends my number. I think they typically feel more comfortable doing that because a lot of agents will hound people. And I'm sure like my past clients know that I wouldn't do that, but I think they just want to give their friends my number so that whenever they're comfortable and ready to call, they do. So I don't ask a lot of questions really aside from the address at all. Like I don't get into what are you looking to make? Like what upgrades have you made? I just say, okay, when can we meet? Because again, I want to go face to face with these people, build that rapport, and allow them to trust me right off the bat. And then we kind of get into that a little bit more. But I guess if you're asking referrals from other agents, how I handle that, they are typically done in a group text. I'll respond like, you know, just the like, nice to meet you, whatever. Let's set up a call. Like I'd love to get to know more about you and what you're looking for. And just, again, I don't ask any questions over text. I just try to get on a call right away, and then I'll go through a whole buyer's consultation. One thing that's super nice about getting referrals from past clients too, is they normally don't shop around. Like I would not say that I've had a lot of competition on any of my listing appointments. And knock on wood, like I think I've gotten 100% of the listing appointments I've been on because they're not searching for other people because their friends had success for me. So I'm sure that's going to come to an end soon. I'm fully aware of that. But because I'm not like, hounding people on Facebook, one of 8 million realtors to respond to a Facebook post, like I don't have the competition. And that's once again, like why I try to build these relationships so that, I'm getting hot referrals.
That is like, oh, what a mic drop. Like that is the ultimate goal to have you read the book, the what is it? The Full Fee Agent?
I'm gonna have to.
In the book, it like talks about you're either the fool or the favorite as like for real estate agents. And so with a referral, like in your case, you're always the favorite. You're not the one being, you're not being shopped. You're not being the one saying, oh, okay, I'll lower my commission. Like, what can I do to make this work? You're just like so calm, cool, and collected. You're like, yo, if you want to work with me, great. If not, great. And like just putting that out there in the world that like, look at how much you're getting back. That is so cool. I want to be you. That's so dope. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit, unless to talk about more about your investing, because you are an investor also, and you were an investor first before you became a real estate agent. When did you start investing, and then really why did you become an agent? Curious.
So I started investing, I want to say it was like 2018, 17 or 18 is when I bought my first house. I was active duty. I lived in this house for a year. I have a pretty good sense of areas that are going to appreciate and are growing. So I try to buy like right on the outskirts of like an area that's already developed that I feel like is going to become more within the next couple of years. So I've had pretty good success with that. But yeah, I house hacked. And so between 1031 exchanges, multifamily, buying distressed and fixing up and holding, I've been doing it for, I guess close to like a decade now. But I've held on to all of them but one and did that 31 exchange to sell that first house that I bought to buy a triplex here in Pensacola. So now I have, I think, 4 long-term rentals, 2 short/medium term, and then 2 out-of-state long-term rentals. So a total of 8 that I've built up over the last, 8 years. And I haven't bought in 2 years because, to be honest, it's like I do a lot of the rehab myself and I'm tired of it. I think I can make more money being an agent. And I self-manage all of them and I just don't want to take on anymore. But I think having the experience of being an investor and just honestly buying a home yourself helped me become a successful agent from the start. Because if you can't speak from experience and speak confidently about things, your clients are going to sense that. And I think that's why people trusted me as an agent, despite my experience as an agent, because I had been through it on the other side so much. So I know, like, easier said than done, but if you're an agent that hasn't bought a home, buy a house so you could speak from experience and also just make a good investment for yourself. But I love the process. Like I love walking homes. I love helping people. I love teaching people. I love thinking creatively. Like, how can we maybe change this layout to make it more functional? Or, how do we make this deal go through? Or how do we make this funding happen? So that's why I just feel like real estate is just such a perfect fit for me. It allows me to meet awesome people, help people, teach people, and be a little creative at the same time. I was managing some of these Pensacola rentals from afar when I was stationed elsewhere, but now I'm here and I live in one of them too. So I've cut down a little bit, I guess, because I'm living in one of them. I don't have as many. But yeah, it has been good. And it took time, like the funding so many rentals is where many people struggle, and the only reason why I was able to do it is because I've always been a hustler. And I think to be a successful investor and an agent, you need that mentality. Like I've always had a part-time job on top of a full-time job. And I've used that extra money for my rehabs, for a down payment, to just buy more. And yeah, I'm so glad that I did.
That is so dope. I'm glad that you mentioned that because, yeah, a lot of people think that they just get the wrong idea of what being a real estate agent is. And so I'm like making it my goal on this YouTube channel to show people that it's not like what it is on TV. You know, it's not just opening a door and all of a sudden you're in a luxury property showing $1 million clients. Like, you have to find them. And I originally thought being a real estate agent, like, you would succeed as long as you had the negotiation skills. And I was like, who better than someone who was an Air Force negotiator? And that's when I was like, oh wait, no, we're in the advertising game. We're in the marketing game. We need to find clients. That's like 80% of, actually that's everything. Otherwise, if you can't find a client, you will never close on a house. Dang. Yeah. So,
and what I will mention too, if that's okay. Part of the reason why I haven't bought, like I said, is because I don't want to manage anymore. Like, you know, my plate's full and I'm making money doing agent stuff. So I don't need another rental right now, but I have switched to private money lending. And this has actually helped build relationships with my clients, especially new investors. And again, I'm not primarily working investors, but last year when I was just looking to build my business, I would meet people at these networking events who needed gap funding, and I was able to help gap fund their project, and I would list their house. So that's a good way into, like, if you have some extra capital and you're not necessarily ready to invest into your own flip, because there is a lot to it. You could kind of get your foot in the door by watching your investor client do it, but still make money through making interest through the private money you're lending them, and you get the listing. So I've done that a couple times, and it's been awesome.
Ooh, okay. Let's go further into that. What specifically does that look like?
So most investors will use hard money loans to buy an investment property. So let's say there's a distressed property that's $100,000, and not all hard money lenders are going to give 100% of the project. So let's, for simple math, say this house is $80,000 and it needs $20,000 worth of work. So they only maybe will give you 75% of the loan, or 75% of like what you need. So you might only get $75,000. So gap funding would cover that extra $25,000 that they need to complete the project. So they look for like smaller, just private money lenders, which is really anyone off the street who has money, who is willing to fund part of the project. And you do get the second lien position. So, you know, you have to do a promissory note, and that's all done with the title company. But you do get pretty substantial interest from it, you know, upwards of double digits. You could get like 10%. Granted, they're typically only like 3 to 6 months, but on $25,000, and then you get the listing and you get to learn through the process and watch them. And you could also give them advice too, like, what are buyers looking for? Like, what do you hear your clients want? Open floor plan? Okay, make your design based on open floor plan. Like, green's really in right now, or that sort of thing. So it's kind of a win-win. And it's just a little trick that if you have some extra capital and you're having a hard time pulling the trigger on investing, but you're trying to build up your real estate business at the same time, might be a good in for you.
Wow. Okay. And of course, this is going to vary a state to state, brokerage by brokerage. But in your case, do you have that in the listing? Wait, how do you do the promissory? What forms are needed, and like what kind of disclosures, or where do you put this in writing?
When the property is purchased and like I make the wire for the investment property like to be closed, do a promissory note, and that's basically saying that the investor is promising to pay me back this amount with this amount of interest, and also the mortgage note, and that's saying that I'm the second lien position, second to the hard money lender, and that gets recorded with the county. So those are really like the two documents that are done. And then on the sales side, I do, and I'm not even totally 100% sure if you need to do this, but I do like that agent, what's it called? Basically that an agent is involved in the transaction, or not the transaction, what's it freaking called? Agent interest in the property. And that's just a single page disclosure. And I just put on there like hard money lender, and, you know, will that scare someone off? Maybe, but probably not, because I'm not the owner of the property. I just have the second lien position and I'm nowhere like on the deed. So I don't even know if you have to do that. I don't like to play with it. So I just do it.
Definitely. That's super smart. So then your conversation with the investor is, since you need the difference of, in this example, 25K, I'll loan it to you at, say, I don't know, 11% for 3 months or however long you think the rehab is going to take. That requires experience on your end because you need to know how long it's going to be and et cetera, et cetera. So you're in the perfect position to do that. Do you typically see like closer to 3 months or 6 months, or what is the term usually look like?
I would say typically closer to 6 months. A lot of investors will want the note to be for a full year just in case, depending on the property and how much it is. Like if it's a larger amount, I may charge more after 3 months. I may charge like a percentage more after 6 months. Just because, like if it's a lot of money, I might start to feel uncomfortable if this project is taking longer and you don't know what the market's going to do. Like if you're going to list in the spring and now you're listing in the winter, like I'm starting to feel a little bit more uncomfortable. So I want to get paid a little bit higher for that. And maybe other investors don't think that way. They're like, oh, you're guaranteed the money kind of unless they can't sell a property and for whatever reason, and like they're way under. But that's why you also do your own analysis of the property to make sure that the numbers are good enough that it would sell for what the hard money lender is owed plus you, because the person who's not going to make anything out of it first is the investor.
Yeah. Okay. And then your actual terms with them. So say it is 6 months. Are you doing like an interest only? Or are they paying back the whole thing?
Most times you will see it's interest only. A lot of times I don't charge them during the first 3 months because I'm like, they're going through the project. Like I don't necessarily need the $1,000 or whatever, or a couple $100 it ends up being. And for tax purposes too, I'm like, let me just get a lump sum. So that's kind of how I treat it.
Oh, that makes a difference for taxes?
No, not like rate wise, but just more things to track. I'm like, okay, this is like income I got here. So I just like it all at once. So I could say, okay, I invested this much for this property and I got it all back on this date. This was my profit. This is what I have to write off or claim.
Okay. So you'll start charging around halfway through or like month 4 and then get like the balloon payment at the end when, okay, cool. Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. How do you vet the person, the investor?
So I only do this with people like I really trust and have
Good.
Like I have known these people for a while. And I would say there's only like 2 people I've ever done this with, and like a couple times, So I've met these people at networking events and feel like I could call them friends too. Like they're not just clients. So they're people who are professionals who I trust on a more personal level as well. So yeah, don't recommend this to just anyone. I mean, there's a lot of protection you could give yourself as a private money lender, especially like if you're the first lien position and like, it's a really good deal. You don't maybe need to trust the person as much if you see that the deal is going to work. But yeah, I also just don't want to give money to someone I don't know that well. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No. So between going into 2025 or like this next year, what are your goals? What do you have investing, you have your hard money, loan, you have agent, you have your cat. What are your goals?
So rentals, I want to just maintain, like hopefully don't do like any rehab this year unless I have to. This is the first year where it's like really smooth sailing. Every project was pretty much done and it's just been a little quiet. My mom's also been helping me with some of the management. She's been awesome on that. So I really haven't had to do too much with it, which has been great. So not much change there for 2025. In terms of the private money lending, I would like to continue to do it. I don't think I'm going to do as much like gap funding as much like with new investors, just maybe with some seasons ones and just, maybe fund a whole project so that I am that first lien position. But I've also been looking into syndications a little bit just to be a little bit more hands off. So we'll see how that goes in 2025. And then in terms of my agent business, I want to be a little bit more selective with who I work with. I think over the last 6 months, I've really been focusing on that. Like if there's a client who I don't think is going to appreciate me and we might not necessarily not get along. Like I could get along with anyone, but really have like a good connection with and feel like they trust me, I don't want to work with them. And so I'm going to start saying no a little bit more in 2025. My goal is actually to do less transactions in 2025, but at a higher price point. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to do that because I do have a hard time saying no. Like I just took like a listing that's 185 that I was like, okay. But I met these people at a networking event and like, I love them and I'm so excited to work with them. I'm like, yeah, of course, so excited to help them and work with them. But yeah, just do the work that I want to do this upcoming year, become more organized, get my systems in place and yeah, hopefully get that listing price tag up a little bit.
That's awesome. I feel like that's your progression. Like if real estate is a circle from like brand new to like done, I feel like you're already at I feel like the done is when you realize more transactions is not always the goal. More freedom is the goal, and like, have you met Erin Baylor? She's part of Five Pillars.
I haven't met her. Tucson. We've talked a little bit before.
Okay. Because she's also there. She got there she's been an agent longer than I have. She got there, I don't know, a couple of years ago. She's like, I don't want to do more. I want to do fewer. So she says no a lot. So if you have any questions on saying no, reach out to Erin. She just does her luxury listings in Tucson, a couple here and there. She's like, this is all I need. I'm like, that is the life. Like that is it.
That is awesome. I will say I still have a little bit of fear that, they're just going to stop coming. It's not like I have like a flood just coming in constantly. So I'm like, okay, I can't say no too much. But that's the goal is, to just have people call me, listings come in and just be like, yes or no.
So what you already mentioned the cities that you work. Can you mention the price point or like the type of property? I don't know if they're like mainly condos or apartments or I don't know, single families. And then where can people reach out to you for any referrals that they have in your areas?
So mostly single family homes. That's what we see around here. Mostly we do have, a lot of condos and townhomes on the beach and such. But it's kind of a different world because of insurance here in Florida. So I don't work those too often. So just single family homes. Again, like my primary buyer is military, first time home buyer so price point, I'd say like for those kind of buyers, they're typically looking at like 250 to like 350 is where they're mostly at. My listings, I would say average probably around like 300 but I've, my highest has been 650. So I'm trying to make most of mine like 4 over.
That's awesome. Cool. And then if someone is listening to this, that's in the Pensacola area, so agents are the ones listening to this channel. So if you have a referral, Tori's my go-to for like the communication is like just amazing. And of course you're part of the community. So, if an agent was thinking about switching brokerages and wanted to join us and they're in the Pensacola area, or they're anywhere in the world and they want you as their sponsor, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
My personal cell phone number, which is 914-434-4219, or on Instagram, I'm Real Tori, REALTORI_Rose. So Real Tori Rose. And then on Facebook, just Tori Borges. Yeah. Like I live right between two of the biggest bases here in Pensacola and Milton. So work with those buyers a lot. Like we have a lot of awesome new construction communities around here too with crazy incentives. So work with military to get them like, really competitive interest rates right now. But yeah, if you're an agent and have any questions, even if you're not in Pensacola, like if you can't tell, and if I hadn't said it 1,000 times, I love to teach. So, and build relationships. So just give me a call.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tori, for coming
thanks,
on.
Allie. Thanks for having me. This is fun.